All right, guys. Really excited to have Jim Kobasa with us again today. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm great.
Here to talk about the mental side of the high school strength and conditioning coach role. Really, I think we hear a lot about like how the mental side is so important when it comes to athletes and their performance. And I want to tie that back to our role as high school strength and conditioning coaches and how we can impact that for our athletes.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say that I am not a sports psychologist, so I'm not, here to give you clinical evidence, and all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be more, I'll say, strength coach practical type of mental stuff. And also, before we get started, I think that a lot of strength coaches will do things and they'll say, we're doing mental toughness drills today. And in their mind, mental toughness drills are basically just doing stuff that's super, super hard and assuming that if you can get through it, that you're then mentally tough. But that's a different side of mental training. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily mental toughness. That's more learning your ability to push yourselves beyond your limitations, which is super important also. But that's not necessarily going to transfer to the field. Like if you're training a basketball player and the basketball player misses a shot, being able to dig down and try harder is not necessarily going to make the next shot. They have to be able to concentrate on the task at hand, and that's where I think that we can help athletes in kind of a separate way, focusing on details and the process and essentially like learning the grind. So strength and conditioning coaches and professionals always need to understand that our real job is to get athletes to be able to practice harder and longer without injuries, so that they can get better at their sport. We are not making the shot for them. We're not catching the ball. We're not making the actual play. We are helping them practice harder, longer, better, and being less or more resistant to injury than they were before. And part of practicing is being able to come in every single day and having good effort, being able to focus and just getting through that grind. Athletes are going to have bad days. They're going to have days when they don't want to do stuff. We have to, as strength coaches, help them understand that when you're having a bad day, you have to turn that in. You have to have your bad days be at least good days. They may not be great, but you have to help them understand that when you don't want to do something, you have to flip a switch and come into the weight room or to a conditioning session and get that done. And it may not be the best effort or the best workout or the best performance you've ever had, but you have to still have good bad days. And that's where strength and conditioning coaches, I think, can really help athletes build their confidence by understanding that, hey, I can get through this on a day-to-day basis so that I can continue practicing and I'll be prepared for my sport. I try to focus on very basic things, like details. If we are going through a workout in a certain way, using certain, technique and recording our reps and weight in a certain way, then athletes should learn how to do that in the way that a coach is telling them to do that, so that they fit into an overall structure and they understand that there is a process in place that they can always count on, without having to worry about, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. There should be that process so they can just then they can have those details in place and they can just work. It's the same in a game situation. They shouldn't be thinking about it's third down, 3rd and 10, or this is the last shot of the game, I have to make it, or it's the 9th inning and I've got to hit a bomb. They should just be focusing on the next play or the next pitch or how the next shot. It's not you want to try to get out of the big picture thinking and just narrow it down to the process. And strength and conditioning is such a process-driven endeavor. You know, we do things consistently every single day. It gets a little boring, and that's okay. You know, the athletes, we're not there to entertain them every day. We're there to get them better. So teaching them that process and that it's kind of a grind is, I think, a very valuable thing. I love to tell athletes that there are 3 keys to being a great athlete, and that doesn't mean having great athleticism or making shots, but being a great athlete, there's 3 keys that require no talent at all. The first key is to show up on time where you're supposed to be, and be prepared to do what you're supposed to do. So being at the right place at the right time, dressed with whatever equipment you're supposed to have. If you can do that, you're at least on the right track. It takes no talent. The second aspect is to follow directions to the best of your ability, and listen to the directions and follow them to the best of your ability. Not everybody can do that, and a lot of athletes, their progress is stymied, or they miss out on improvement and growth because they're just not skilled at listening to directions and then following them to the best of their ability. So we talk a lot about following directions. I know that sounds silly, but for a lot of young athletes, it's just not a skill that they're really, really good at. And then the third thing is to give 100% effort on everything you do, and not, that can't be understated. A lot of athletes simply aren't used to giving effort all the time. They're used to giving effort when they feel like giving effort, but not all the time. And if athletes could just show up to practice on time, prepared for that practice, listen to the directions and follow them, and give great effort on everything that they're asked to do, those mental skills, I know that doesn't sound like mental skills, they're more like lifestyle skills, those things transcend all sports and actually life in general. But that's something that I think should be spread. That message should be spread to athletes all over the place. Another mindset kind of thing that I love to talk to athletes about is constantly competing. And a lot of athletes today, in a practice situation, if you're running sprints or doing a drill, they want to be friends with everybody. So they don't want to blow somebody out on a conditioning drill or on a speed drill or lift way more weight than somebody else. They don't want to make somebody look bad, but we have to teach them that it's okay to compete all the time. And there's been situations where just actually last week I was working with a really elite high school level club soccer team, and I was talking about, hey, don't worry about the feelings of the girl next to you. That girl should be trying to beat you just like you're trying to beat her on every single sprint. And by practicing those competition skills in your brain and always competing, when you get out on the field, you don't have to turn it on. It's just part of you. You're used to competing. And it's really interesting. I saw several girls they made eye contact and they were like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and I saw kids start to run faster and push a little bit harder because it was almost like they were given permission to beat the kid next to them. And I think, in today's society, everybody, kind of wants to be friends and be nice to everybody. And that's totally fine off the field or off the court. But on the practice field or on the court, athletes should try to win everything that they do. And that has to be kind of encouraged, I think.
Yeah, I know one thing, going back to some of those skills that you're talking about that really don't take talent as far as just showing up and being on time. Hustle is another one. Just showing that heart and hustle is, you don't have to flip that switch on when you make the transition on and off the field. It just becomes habit. So that was another piece that I thought was important to mention.
Yeah, I feel like when we help athletes with those skills, they develop confidence. and they feel like, hey, I'm gonna outwork people. I am going to give effort. I can listen to directions. I can make those things happen. And they kind of start to look around and realize, like, hey, I can do this better than other people, and I'm pretty good. And having that confidence in your abilities, and at least in your level of effort, is something that can change. It can change a practice setting or a competitive situation for a kid who just feels like, hey, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna compete. I'm gonna push myself and I'm gonna work really hard because I know I do this on a day-to-day basis. That confidence can't be, I think it's understated quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. How does that play a role in the process you talked about earlier? So one of the first things you mentioned was having a process where there's the details that you can focus on. How does that process tie into their confidence level?
That's a good question. When you play sports, you want to feel like you're good at something. You never feel real confident when you're not sure about what you're doing. And having a process in place makes you feel better about what you're doing, and it makes you feel like you're getting good at something. When you feel like you're getting good at strength and conditioning, I know that sounds kind of silly, but when an athlete feels good at strength and conditioning, their confidence goes up because they feel like, hey, I am preparing for my sport and I'm good at it. And as they feel good at understanding that process and giving that effort, it can carry over to the practice field because they feel good at it. So even if their shot's not dropping that day, or they're not understanding a play, they have that confidence to fall back on, that, hey, I'm good at preparing. I'm prepared right now. I'm just gonna keep going with the process and I'll get better.
Awesome. All right, Jim. Well, I think that is some good stuff there. I appreciate your time again today, and
My
talking
pleasure.
a little bit about that mental side.
My pleasure. Thanks, Julie.